How many times you have faced a Stafford Gambit and what's your success so far? We know that back 2020, Stafford Gambit reached its peak thanks to international master Eric Rosen. But in reality, Stafford Gambit is not the best choice for black to go for. And the main reason why people actually play the Stafford Gambit is just by giving up the pawn, in exchange they will get quick threats on the white's kingside part. Well, alright, Stafford Gambit is really, of course, fun to play, and at the same time it really works well in the blitz games, since the opponent who is playing with the white perspective will not have enough time to stop the threats of the black perspective. And in this video, we're gonna take a look how to punish the Stafford Gambit so we can have much more winning games with it. We usually reach the Stafford Gambit by pushing over the pawns and developing the kingside knights and taking the pawn on e5. And this is the moment where most played move with the black perspective is definitely d6, which turns to the Russian game. But Stafford Gambit happens once the knight takes a place on c6. Well, this is a situation that you can accept the Stafford Gambit by taking the knight, or even there are many ways we can decline. We definitely go in this video deeper to the accepted variation taking the knight c6, but do we have any other also options that we can go for? Well, we have, and that stands for here pushing our d pawn to d4. And what's the idea behind this move? By playing d4, we are giving the support on the e5 knight. Well, yeah, definitely our pawn on e4 is still hanging. But here's a trick that white can have if black takes a pawn. Once black takes a pawn, queen e2, and now you can see that the king and the knight is kind of placed on the file, and that's on the e file. And if black tries to get his knight back to f6, white is just making the discard attack, and not only winning the knight, but actually winning the queen in the next move as well. And for that reason, taking the pawn definitely not the choice for the black at all. And the most correct move here that black should go would be queen e7. And that's the best of currently, and attacking the knight on e5. We go the knight c3. So basically we are ignoring that our knight's under attack because it's protected by the pawn. After takes, we have this f4 move, queen e6 and queen d4. And here we give back the pawn that we won at the beginning of the game, but in exchange we are controlling right now the center. Our placement of the piece is much more better placed than the black and active. And as you can see, the next pawn is very simple and clear. You're just gonna develop these two bishops, and on your own, by your choice, you can make a short or the queenside castling, and then the rest of the game can be continued like this way. So you can reach this position after knight e6, and that's by playing a d4. So this is, I think, one of the easiest options that you can play the Stafford Gambit, and not so much theory needed in order to play it. Well, let's go to knight e6 variation, accepted variation. Knight e6 takes. When I check the database, so the most played move in this position is definitely knight c3 and d3, and even the Stockfish recommends here to play d3. But there is a little bit of thing about d3 that you need to know, like in some variations, the order of the moves, move by move, which means if you do a little bit something wrong, as you know, like usually black has this sort of tricks by playing h5 and the queen d4. So one of the traps can happen, and you can go very wrong easily if you not make the moves move by move. Knight c3, d3, the reason is clear why white plays here. It's definitely to keep this extra pawn. But do we have any other option that still helps us to save the pawn? And we have, and that is moving forward the pawn to e5. And in the current situation, e5 is actually stands way more stronger rather than playing knight c3 and d3. And the reason for that, first of all, there are less theory needed to memorize, and at the same time, most of the traps and the threats of black could be avoided simply. So once we push here e5, definitely, since we are attacking the knight, black should take care of it. And the most being played move in this position is knight e4 and knight g4, and that's the whole idea of the Stafford Gambit. So if black will have the opportunity to attack the white's kingside, it would be just useless to go for this gambit. And knight e4 and knight g4 definitely helps to do it, because black would be able to start putting the pressure on the white kingside's f2 pawn. But in the meantime, we have also some sort of moves that black can go, knight d5 or queen e7. And I think it would be better first if we go with this sort of like a normal options, and then the best options, not the best options, but just mostly played moves of the black. Let's start first queen e7. Queen e7 is the goal is what? Simply not letting us to take the knight because our king is pinned. Well, we will just give the support here by pushing d4. And black will try here to break it up our central pawns by pushing c5. Because taking is not definitely the option for white, otherwise we are losing 2 pawns and black is simply getting back his advantage. Rather than that, we will give another support to our pawn and exchange will happen. And again, the same story here repeats, that pushing c5, which here, right, we don't also have like the support we can give to d4 pawn, but we give the check, bishop d7. Since in the current position, the pawn is being defended with a queen, we will not really take seriously this c takes d4 move, because no matter what, if black tries out, we can just take back with a queen. And here, after bishop d7, white simply can go knight c3. With the next move, short castling, and on the board we can see white has the extra pawn, and black is literally in a huge problem right now. And if we go back after e5, how about if the knight gets centralized to d5? Well, kind of the same story repeats here as well. We centralize our pawn d4. And if you pay attention closely here, white is even up at 2 pawns. Like we have kind of clearly extra 2 pawns on d and e files, and the center is complete controlling the white right now. And since black has these double pawns, he should need to take care of it as soon as possible. Otherwise, it could be late, and black can keep this like a double pawns until the rest of the game. So c5 also kind of like tries to put some pressure on the center of white. Well, the best things right now what white can do is just to ignore it, let him to take it, because that's not like a really threat we need to think about. Bishop f5 should be played by the black. We castle. And currently I think we can look that white is completely fine here, because we have the extra pawn, and at the same time the main thing we got achieved, the safety of the king. The Stafford Gambit is a little bit dangerous for white when the black really puts the pressure on the white's kingside. But here you can see nothing. White is actually completely safe, and at the same time up a pawn, so nothing to worry about. So far we covered with you right now queen e7 and knight d5 move, so that was kind of simple options of the black. Will literally not kind of put any sort of like a headache for the white's kingside. Well, now let's start to make it happen. Let's first go with the knight g4. Knight g4 and knight e4 kind of look similar to each other, but knight g4 is a little bit dangerous because it also attacks on the e5 pawn and at the same time somehow the h2 pawn as well. So it has much more threats than the knight e4. Since our pawn again undefended, we give it support d4 and immediately queen h4 move. Queen h4, since black focusing on the king side, it's definitely f2 and h2. We will just play right now g3 to stop the whole threats, because now with just like a one shot, with just one move we are killing 2 shots, because g3 stops the black threat. At the same time it helps us to develop our light square bishop. Queen e7. And in this position we can actually simply develop the bishop and make the castling, but still let's make another move with the tempo so we can be completely safe and not to worry about it again. And that move is just basically h3. Because right now the knight on the g4 is kind of still can create some sort of threats. For example, if you played bishop g2, maybe f6 could be played since our king is pinned. And that's why, without giving any chance for the black, let's just play h3, knight h6, and this is the only spot for the knight. So we're gonna take that with the bishop, and black takes. And after all, as we can see, black already got some problems before this happened, but right now there's another problem on the kingside part. And literally the main problem of black in the current position connected with the pawns. First of all, black is down a pawn. At the same time, this sort of wonderful and the weak pawn structure for the black perspective. So knight g4 can be punished easily by just pushing d4 and just playing g3. Because d4 is kind of here key move. Why? Is it a real option for the black to play bishop c5? Not really. It's not possible. Well, even if black tries right now bishop c5, because there's a little bit of like a trick behind this move, because you cannot really take this bishop. After black takes, we are getting forked. Be aware though of this sort of tricks. Keep an eye always. So bishop c5, the threat is very clear. What you can do is that simply c3. And now, are you seeing any way that black can put the pressure on the f2 pawn? Not really. And you just stopped all of the threats of your opponent by just pushing 2 pawn moves, and boom, everything is fine for the white perspective. Alright, finally we come up with the last move and the most played move of black. Knight goes to e4. Centralize the knight. And again, nothing really changed here. Knight e4, the main threat is f2. All you need is to take care of this pawn. Once you will be able to do that, well, the rest is really easy. Again, d4, which means again we are stopping the bishop threat. And as always, even though you'll face this move, you need to push c3, not to take it. Otherwise, after takes, as you know, you are getting forked and black is achieving at least something in this case. Well, bishop c5, c3, everything's covered. Good. But how about queen h4? And this is now a little bit of tricky part. Stafford is, it's always fun to play, but if white knows his stuff really well, it's really actually not like the good gambit to go for. Queen h4. Again, the threat is f2. And the most natural move, if you're playing the first time or just looking to the position, stands for g3, right? Yeah, it makes sense because, again, we are just kicking out the queen with the tempo and we can develop the bishop to the next move. But it stands for the blunder. Why? There's some sort of patterns, connected with this sort of like a box inside the knight on e4 and queen on h4. Black can just take our pawn. We cannot take back since our rook is pinned. And if you take back with a pawn, there's the queen e4 check. And you must say goodbye to your h1 rook. And you need to play with the down exchange. So basically right now black have the winning position on the board. This is also the important thing to be aware of. You should not fall off some sort of traps of your opponent. So what would be then another way that we can defend this f2 pawn? Well, it stands for queen e2, which no threats of the black left here. That was f2 and it's being covered very easily. Bishop f5, and now we can simply play g3 because knight g3 doesn't really work because after takes, queen e4 right now being covered by our queen on e2. Queen goes back to e7, and now simply we are fianchettoing our bishop with the tempo. Knight g5, because it was under attack. Another development, probably black tries to long castle and bishop e3. And currently the stoppage says it's +5 position. Well, maybe if we are looking for the normal human perspective, we are definitely understanding it's winning position for white, but +5. And I think that probably stands for we have this kind of central pawns and kind of looks like white is again playing up with the 2 extra pawns and better development than the black, better placement of the pieces and much more space at the same time. And that was all for our today's video. I hope from today you will have much more success with the Stafford Gambit, and just let me know in the comments how it will go. Keep calm and play chess and enjoy your chess journey.